Okay, this is going to be an in-depth session with somebody who was not able to make it due to work. We're going to have a discussion later on, but they wanted me to go ahead, so I'm going to look through it really quick. I'm going to start with the form as usual. I peaked GM4. What do you hope we got out of the session? Peaked GM4, but I've since fallen to Masters 5. There are many reasons why I fell to Masters 5, but I want to get back up. Mostly hit GM4 because Ball had recently got some quality of life changes. It was much closer to the meta than ever. I was so active in the Crim scheme. I had joined a team when I was Diamond, and as I all continued to climb in ranked, I had tried to keep up, and eventually that Diamond team was Grandmaster. Okay. Which heroes do you play in rank? Mostly Ball. I flex on my moments of weakness, but mostly Ball. Okay. How long do you play Overwatch per day? I put in a good 8 hours, give or take. I assume that's 8 hours a week. Makes sense. Obviously, consistency is key with play. I think 8 hours is definitely on the lower end for weekly for Grandmaster, especially if you're spending some of that time scrimmaging as well. So if you have any questions about training time, please let me know. But I would say for Grandmaster to be consistently viable, most people generally have to aim for around 12 to 13 hours a week, sometimes more, depending on how efficient you are with your playtime and how intensely focused you are during your playtime as well. Short-term, long-term goals. Short-term, I want to hit Grandmaster again. I've done it once, but it was at the height of rank inflation. Long-term, I want to reach the level of rank I can play with other top 500 streamers. Okay. What do you feel is holding me back from improving? Some things could be holding me back, or I find myself often autopiloting. Yeah, see, that's a big one. That's a big one. If you find yourself autopiloting generically on like everything that you're doing, that's going to be a major problem, especially if you're only playing 8 hours. So if you're going to be spending only 8 hours, those 8 hours have to be quality practice. Quality practice means that you're fully focused, fully rested with specific goals that you're practicing in mind. That is only around 3 to 4 games per day. So you need to make sure that those games are super high quality. I think it's possible to hit Grandmaster with only 8 hours a week. But I think that you really have to make sure that time is super focused, super quality spent. Like you got to go in with specific goals. You got to be taking breaks, especially with a mechanically difficult character like Ball. It's going to be pushing it, and you have to be doing all the things correctly. So keep that in mind. The ways of preventing autopiloting is obviously having specific goals, getting enough rest, taking breaks, building a habit of breaking the autopilot, having a specific phone timer that goes off every 4 or 5 minutes to remind you of your goals, and just simply practicing being focused in the moment. Reps. I mostly play Ball, but it feels like there are a lot of players that don't know how to play with Ball, but blame that on the Ball for existing. I don't know how to turn those games. Okay, so the thing is you can't turn those games. You can't turn those games. But the second anybody says, I don't know how to play with Ball, you need to remove that from your vernacular because that is just simply not a thing. There are ways that are more optimal to play with the Ball, like having a dive character to supplement him. Tends to spike his value a little bit more consistently. But beyond that, you just need to focus on providing value to your team and seeing if they capitalize off of that value. If they do, great. If they don't, not your problem. Continue to do what you need to do. Your job as a tank player, whether you're playing Reinhardt, Winston, Wrecking Ball, Diva, Sigma, Zarya, whatever, is to just load your dice for your team in team fights. Give them the greatest advantage that you can possibly can without necessarily consistently getting kills yourself, and allow them to win the fight or directly get the kills yourself. It's going to depend on the circumstance. Obviously with Ball, it could be a little bit of both. But don't let yourself get upset. Don't try to carry fights where your team's not performing the way that they ought to. Just do your job. Do your job and do your job over and over again and do your job better than you did last time. My actual aim is often lacking. Okay, 8 hours of sleep. Looks good. Okay, let's take a look here. So we got a message. This is the first game I want you to go through. I started on Ram and then swapped to Ball as my crutch. I guess we're looking at Ram. I oftentimes feel lost in Ram, and that's mostly what I want to work on. I also want to know why, when I was in Ball, my team was being gate-kept by the strong front line of Zarya Sigma when I often find I struggle against those type of tanks. Wasn't being gate-kept, excuse me. Other than that, pathing and target priority are things I often struggle with, and I want to work on that. Okay, so we are going to look at like a little bit of Ramattra, I guess, and then we'll take a little bit of the Ball here. Let's go. Masters 5, Ramattra. Worthless E. So the big thing with Ramattra is that you have relatively medium impact cooldowns that absolutely must be used for value. The problem with Ramattra's cooldowns is it's very easy to find value for them in a lot of spurious ways that ultimately cost you when it really matters. For example, you're like, I'm just going to throw my E out there, but no, stop. You could do that, but don't do that. Think about how valuable a vortex would be right here. How many more shots would you do? That little ticky slow, that little extra damage. and yet you wasted it. You wasted it. The shield's fine. You're going to get a lot of damage out of this shield. Your team is here as well, so reasonable. But you just threw a 12-second cooldown away. You literally threw it away. And I don't understand exactly what it is about Ramattra. I don't think it's that players aren't stupid. Whenever you see a consistent problem for all players, you know that the problem isn't necessarily the player base, but the design. So I think that, it's understandable for whatever reason why this cooldown, it doesn't feel tangibly impactful, but it is. It is very impactful. You must get this right. And that's a habit that we don't want to see. Damage is good. Obviously feeding a little bit of Zarya charge, but it's not the end of the world. Now, what I would do with Ramattra is only force a brawl when A, it's necessary, as in we need to do this, otherwise we're going to die, or B, when you see an opportunity. This is neither. You have created a lot of space for your team. You've allowed your team to comfortably hold this choke. You will prevent the enemy front line and tank line from walking forward in your position. And if they get a little bit too greedy or mismanage their cooldowns just a little bit, you're going to be there to pounce on it. On a hit to nade, you're there to pounce on it. And so I don't love this. It's not bad, but I don't love it because I think I would have allowed them to walk forward just a little bit more so that I can hit him in the mouth just a little bit better. Good. Good job focusing down that, again, it just bothers me to no end. Good job focusing on the Cassidy. But transition, shield is fine. Maybe could have been placed a little bit tighter. I think that was a little bit too far. And then, oh my days, you bounce it off the corner. And it doesn't even hit what you want. Unforgivable. I jest. Sort of. Seriously. Don't throw it away. It's so important. It's so important. You cannot afford to make that mistake. But besides your Vortex, not a shabby first fight. Damage, 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 damage. Okay, so here's the thing. Ask yourself, what does, and this is a good moment if you're a Ramattra player watching this. Pause the video and ask yourself, what does Nemesis form do? Is it more damage? Pause the video. I'm going to give you the answer in just a second. And the answer is no, it does not do more damage. It doesn't do more DPS whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that Nemesis does is it gives you a slightly more forgiving hitbox with the damage. So it's more consistent damage versus slippery, sure. More slippery characters. And it gives you the survivability and the speed boost. So a lot of times, pursuing down and punching shorter speed targets. So you look at this here. Do you need your mobility right now? Do you need your survivability right now? Is the Zarya a difficult target to lock down? And I think the answer to all of these questions is no. So then why are you using it? Why are you using it, right? So you're here and you're like, but you're fine. You're not taking any. In fact, the best thing for you to do here would be maybe to drop a shield to prevent losing too much HP. Maybe and I don't even think that was necessary, right? But this means that not only are you feeding charge, but you're forcing your most important cooldown on a tank trade, which then means that now you have no capability to punch down or chase down any other squishies whatsoever. It's gone. It's gone. Be very careful about wasting your Nemesis form on a tank when just shooting the tank would do more damage. Why does a Ramattra Nemesis form a Reinhardt? Because he might need the survivability versus a Reinhardt. Why does a Ramattra pop a Nemesis form versus, oh gosh, I don't know, a Sigma? You can punch through shield, right? And you'd only do that when you actually were like fully committing to it. Otherwise, you just shoot shield. But this situation, not a good use of your cooldown. You've basically blown your entire cooldown trade and done really not a whole lot with it. But see, even here, I'm punching this because I want the survivability. I want the speed to go hit the Zarya and then right now go through the Zarya. You see this? This is where having the Nemesis form is valuable. Doing exactly what you're doing right now. Vortex is all right. Shield is all right as well. You're getting good damage out of it. Yeah, go, get him. Thank you. Block. Sure. I don't mind forcing the Zarya now just because of what's available, but honestly, at this point in time, you should do a quick 180 and check to make sure there's not a better target available. Because there is. Stop tunneling on the Zarya. There's a life weaver right there. Like right here, right? There he goes. Go get him or the Cassidy, right? Good, get that Torb. Nice. Winnable still. Okay, not a terrible fight from you. Not a terrible fight from you. But very important moments where too much attention is placed onto a tank when there are squishies that are equally available. And leading into that fight, the cooldown trade could have been a lot better. Again, Vortex, lazy Vortex. Nobody's doing anything with this, right? Now, did you do this because your Reaper was there? I doubt it. I think you just threw it. For example, why would you not throw it in the Symmetra so you can shoot the Symmetra? Why would you not walk the high ground and then Vortex it when you're actually close to prevent them from escaping from your Nemesis form, right? These are the thought processes that you need to be going through, right? Instead, it becomes almost an afterthought, right? Too early. Too early, right? No serious significant damage taken. Right? Take a little bit of damage first, then pop it. It's a 13-second cooldown. It better darn well get value. Other thing here, if only we had Vortex right now, not 2 seconds from now, but right now, you'd use your Vortex right there on the Torbjorn Reaper. Use it. Missed opportunity. Good job with the Nemesis form, though. I don't think you were aware. What happens here? Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness gracious. Domination. I like the Nemesis commit on the Mercy. I will say that. I would just disengage at this point in time. Yeah, smart. Okay. Yeah, that was something else. But that's okay. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you feeding Charge? Why are you feeding her Charge before the fight starts? Goodness gracious. You've got to half of your team at spawn and you're using your cooldowns. And your team is almost here. And you've just used all your cooldowns. And you fed her 100 charge. She's 100 charge now. And you Vortex nothing. Okay, so this has to be fixed, right? This has to be fixed. Have a purpose with what you're doing with your Vortex. Play around your team. Do not commit these cooldowns. Stop feeding Zarya charge. Stop tank trading for no reason whatsoever with your Nemesis form. It's way too valuable. Like, what if that Zarya had pushed in and you needed your Nemesis form to keep yourself alive while you're waiting for your Reaper far out, right? Good discipline on the shield. Too early on the shield. No damage had been taken. You need to shoot first, make them look at you, then use your shield. The only time that you proactively shield is if you need to block crowd control. There's no crowd control on the battlefield that you need to worry about with the shield. So any sort of chip damage is totally fine. Do not worry about this. Control these guys. Yes, yes. Get her out. Get her out. Get her out. Find her. Find her. Find somebody. Stop punching the tree. Do not. This is not worth your attention. Find her. Stay on her. Stay on her. Stay in the Symmetra. Now you need to disengage. It's a waste of resources. Too much attention. Yeah. It's too many resources, cooldowns used for no value. Too much Zarya charge fed. Too inconsistent and actually assassinating and annihilating, squishies. Not good enough. Now, I know obviously this is a character that you're working at, but I want you to understand how important those two things are. It is inexcusable. It is what your character is. It is everything your character is. And if you can't, then like if you're struggling to do this, then you're going to have a really hard time. So don't think the mechanics are too bad. I think the ultimates are okay. But really the cooldown usage, all of the cooldowns was not good. Nemesis form used to punch tanks when there's all the squishies available. Nemesis form just used to punch tank, period. And then feeding charge aggressively. Vortex is not getting value. Shields being used too early when there's no damage to be taken. That needs to be fixed. I assume we're going to see more of the same here. So I'm not going to repeat myself over and over again, but we'll point them out when we see them. Vortex is great. Shield is great. Great start. Good damage blocking. Serious damage blocking. Serious value out of Vortex. Either going to get a lot of damage off of this, or he's going to have to drop. Look at that. Turret is basically 1 HP, and he had to overload, and he still died. I'm telling you, mate, this is it. Look at it. Olympus has fallen. Nice. And then now you Nemesis the Zarya because you're like, yeah, I'm taking damage, right? I'm low. So then the Nemesis is used for survivability, but please do not punch the bubble. Please do not punch the bubble. You're feeding a lot of charge. You're feeding a lot of charge unnecessarily. All right? Now, push out the Life Weaver or push out the Echo. Maybe just a punch or two. You can't greed too far with 535 HP, which sounds weird, but you can. But now go. Go. Ah! No, go for the Life Weaver. Go for the Echo. Thank you. Look at that. Look at how much easier that was. Look at how easy that was, right? Force him out. Get him out. Vortex is not good. The idea of the Vortex is fine. The execution is not. She's bubbled. And you also place it a little too far forward, right? Shield is okay-ish because it allows you to get extra damage on the Zarya. It wasn't a bad shield. Get her. Yes, thank you. Missed punch there. That's okay. I would stay on the Echo. Stay on her. A little too much time, some shaky mechanics and a little bit of indecision. You kind of ping pong between a couple of targets and you don't really do any significant pressure to any of them. The Echo, the Mercy, or the Weaver. Need your shield. You need your shield. I need you to shield yourself. Shield for yourself. You know, I know you're thinking about your Baptiste there, but yeah, okay. So that's the main takeaway for Ramattra. Work at that cooldown usage. With Nemesis, Vortex, and Shield, I would work at one of those in isolation. Don't try to improve at all of them at the same time. With your Shield, is this blocking significant damage or cooldowns? When do I need to use it? Vortex, do I just have a purpose with a Vortex? Right? It's a very dynamic cooldown, but just simply having a reason why you're using it is crucial. Nemesis form, do I need the survivability? Do I need the speed? Do I need the extra hitbox juice versus squishy targets? Find a reason for you to use it and prioritize squishies whatever you can. Okay, ball time. What did you say were some of your issues here? Aim. Target priority or my... Oh, no, it's in your message. Pathing and target priority. Okay, got it. You're a little early here. So the number one thing that, like, it's the most important part of ball, really, is this is when you need to engage, and this is when you're on the way out. You kind of opened up the team fight by pressuring Life Weaver and pressuring the front line before your team is ready. I also question you rolling back this far when I think that this slam isn't particularly impactful. And maybe more pressure on the Life Weaver and Mercy until the Torbjorn turned around would have been a little bit more impactful. But the timing is the big one there. That is a ball fundamental. I'm noticing that you have a tendency to roll through the enemy team back towards your front line and slam front line. Don't worry about frontline. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. What Ball's job is to do as much pressure as possible on the general enemy team, whether that's frontline or backline, so that somebody is left resourceless or down resources so that your team can walk forward. If you slam the Mercy, the Zarya bubbles the Mercy, the Zarya has one fewer bubble to hold the frontline, and now you've weakened frontline without actually doing direct frontline damage. The problem with what you're doing right here is that Ball in general doesn't have as much frontline presence. And so when I look at this here and I ask, okay, what should I be slamming? Mercy's probably it, right? Or Torb or whatever. But as quickly as you can, you need to lose and go back onto a target that, right there. Thank you. Thank you. This is good. Aim is definitely not great, I will say. Aim is a very important part of Ball here. And you're getting a little too close. The melee as well, not necessary. There needs to be a lot more pressure on this Weaver. Okay, so now you re-enter Ball form, find Echo or Torb. You miss. Mechanical thing. Grapple and slam must hit. Grapple on the Torb, hit the Torb, slam the Torb, force overload, or whatever else that he's got, force his attention even, right? On him, break turret. This damage is meaningless. The reason why you're able to kill the Zarya when you're like, I have a hard time, like, how are they killing the Zarya? It's because you force the Life Weaver back, you force the Valkyrie back, and now look at who's not getting support from either character. Look at the Life Weaver. Not even looking at his front line. Look at the Mercy. Not even looking at her front line. And so I mean, obviously that's a bit of a feat from her too, but by the time that they actually look at their Zarya, it's too late. So while you're not doing what I would say is a great job, you're doing a good enough of a job pulling resources elsewhere that your team is winning the frontline war because you're assaulting the backline. Your timing could be better, mechanics could be better at both your aim and how you're engaging on squishies, but it's good enough. Sure. No idea what that copy was all about, but sure. Careful with your timing here. A little bit of distraction's okay, but remember your team is still down a few here, so be careful. You know, actually, why do you go in right now? Is it because you saw that your Bastion was engaged? I think it could be okay, just because your team is engaged. Good. Get out. Reset. It's all right. It's all right. Your team is committing very aggressively here, so I think it's okay. So as long as your team is able to push with you, it can work. Good. You're doing a lot of backline harassment right now, like a lot of backline harassment, and your team is doing a great job actually helping you here. Like your team is clearly committed to assisting you hold this here, so this is why this is feeling so good. Their resources are very split. That needs to hit somebody, right? And this E is a little bit messy here because you pop the E as you disengage, so I think you lose a little bit of HP there. Nice. Yeah, I mean, this is going to feel great as long as your team is able to play aggressively with you. It's why your team is going to hold down the front, right? Why that Zarya is so low is because all of her healing resources being put on you. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say here. We can nitpick some of the mechanics here and there. But as long as your team is able to hold aggressively with you, this is going to feel good. Part of the map that very rarely you see people go to. Now, I would be good to occasionally check, nice boop, to occasionally check where your team is positioned, because there is a chance, like case in point, right? Your Sojourn's back from spawn. So I don't think what you're doing now is bad. Just keep in mind that you can't super commit here. You're even now, so it's probably fine, but you're still down your Sojourn. So just keep that in mind. Good Minds. Is my team in position to assist with this? Yes. Gonna force some nice cooldowns. Now you're by yourself. Now you're not, because the Zarya's pushed the point. Look very fluid in a lot of these engages. That's kind of unfortunate. Nice. Good. So, I mean, there's really nothing but nitpicks here. I mean, obviously your team was able to help you consistently. Your mechanics look pretty good in terms of your movement. I think the key thing is just to remember to always like keep in mind, where is my team actually holding? Is my team willing to assist me to hold forward? Most teams would have wanted to fight her on point. Your team was willing to help you out here, which ended up working out very well. But if your team isn't as cooperative and wants to play around here, like let's say they want to play around their Ana and Baptiste sightlines a little bit more, then you need to be flexible around that and let the enemy team walk into your team before you set the trap. A lot of ball is understanding that I can engage anywhere, so I'm going to engage around where you guys are set up to engage. Just because you're at the tank does not mean that you set the tempo by telling where your team is set to engage. So that was good. You pulled so many resources away from that Zarya. She felt completely naked. That's why you were winning that frontline war. Because you hit the backline over and over and over and over and over again. There's the Ana. Good. I would be going right now. You need to go pretty soon here. Like this fight is kind of starting here, and you need to be engaged now. Yeah, this is pretty rough, right? Like this is a lot of downtime here. Like you need to be like you do pull the Ana back a little bit, which I guess is something, but maybe that was your intention here. Now this is, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a mistake. One of the things that Yeatl's Ball video talks about is how why Ball feels a lot worse is because his frontline presence is a lot worse. And Ball never really had a frontline presence, but Ball had the ability to provide utility and crowd control to the enemy tank, as well as the slam and the general ability damage being a higher percentage of their health pool in Overwatch 1. So if this is Overwatch 1 and you're like, well, I could go for backline, but I could also just grapple and boop the Sigma up to here and do 50 damage plus the slam, 150 damage. That might have been matter. But this is Overwatch 2. This Sigma has 550 HP. This Sigma is more resistant to boops. So I'm not sure that you going for Sigma here is the play. I'm assuming things. You might not go for Sigma, but this is still important to talk about. I think probably your best bet would be to grapple across here, shoot, engage the Mercy Torp, and slam here. Force overload, force heal beam, force the Mercy to fly away, so that the Sigma is cut off without damage resources. That would probably be a better use of your time. Let's see what you do. And there it is, right? It's just not efficient use of your resources. It's just not an efficient use of your resources. If you look at the Sigma's body language, he was already dropping off, and you essentially tickled him. And because of that, you miss out on damage on Mercy Torb, which would have provided more pressure onto the enemy team than doing what you just did. You have to keep this in mind. There are times when going for the front line is acceptable. Let's say this backline was all the way back here. Sure, they're not a threat at all. Help deal with the tank. Better than nothing, right? But this isn't it. This isn't it. Good. Nice. Slam it. Oh, that one hurts. That one hurts. That's a mess. Good. It's fine. Playing on one cooldown is really important, but okay. Uh-oh. Okay. There's sleep. There's rock. We can go right back in. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that noise. But see, this is more valuable for the boop on Mei than it is on the boop on Sigma. Does Mei have Ice Block? Oh, this is going to force Ice Block, isn't it? Yeah, this is huge. There it is. There's Ice Block. She's now naked. And then now you can grapple through. Drop mines, I assume. Yep. And there you go. And there it is. Now the Ana's isolated. The Mei can't move. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job, but occasionally you see tank and you're like, oh, I'm going to boop him in. No, 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 no. Almost never. Nice. Keep going. No. No. You're riding off of the high of last round, where your team was aggressively holding like the equivalent of this position here, but they're not doing that anymore. So I do not think that this is the play. So I appreciate that you disengaged that. Awkward. But, okay, Junkrat's around. Mercy's turned around. Ana also just turned around. Do it again. It's just not quite enough damage, if that makes any sense. Disengage is not fluid. So one thing that I think, if you want to level up your ball play, whether you're the student here or somebody watching, every time that you have an awkward engage, ask yourself, what would have been the best use of my cooldowns here? I'm not going to even tell you what would have been the best use of your cooldowns here. What would have been the best engage there versus the Ana Sleep Dart and the Junkrat? Think about it. Come up with an idea. Good. Again here, right? Again here. What was the mistake here? What was the mistake here, mechanically? Right? If you don't know the answer, grapple too high. So that gets you a vertical arc and means that you can't continue your roll through. You grapple too high, or you probably should have just grappled here off of this wall and then bounced and then maybe even tried to establish a couple of fireballs, right? Back and forth. That would have been a better use. You could have also wrapped around and gone through the main. So little mechanical mistakes like that, right? What's the mistake here, right? Little things like that, right? I think you can look back at this fight and go, why did it feel like we just like slowly lost? Because you were doing a lot less damage and a lot less pressure than you have in the fights previous to this. And most of it had to do with your mechanics, not just your mechanics if you're shooting, but the way that you were moving around the map. Mines, little awkwardly placed, right? Too low, not near enough spread on these mines. Nice. What went wrong mechanically? You know? What went wrong mechanically? Most of this fight has been mechanics. In terms of the placement of the mines, the movement, the slams, the grapple placement, the aim. Which is okay. Just take some practice. But if you could look at your mechanics and go, oh, I consistently place my grapples a little too low, a little bit too high, what you could do is you could not just say, oh, I need to practice my mechanics. You could find specific maps where you struggle more mechanically. You can also find specific mechanical habits that you need to work on and break. And that's kind of what we're looking for. You could spawn camp here. It'd be tricky because it's Ana. I don't know if you know Ana's not there. Ah, gosh darn it! No, right? No. Minimal value. Right? If you want to allow your team to push past the Sigma, assault the Rat, assault the Mercy, spawn camp the Ana, cut off the lifeblood to the Sigma. Look at how meaningless that value is. Right? You've done about 100 damage. You need to be getting 200, 300, 400 damage. Obviously, the damage number alone isn't the most important thing. But really the only reason that you win this is just because you had an ultimate and they didn't. Your damage value, again, feels lacking. But this time it's not from mechanics, it's through target priority. Right? Okay, this is it. Ooh. Nice. Good. Get him. What do you think about this one mechanically, right? What went wrong there? Was your grapple placement too low or too high? Was there an opportunity for double bloop? Nice. Okay. Let's we have got a little bit of time here. So we got time for the second code here. I felt lost in RAM. That's mostly what I played. That's mostly what I want to improve. Okay, let's take a look here. So, couple of things here. Mechanics in terms of the fluidity of your movement in certain situations. Not perfect. A little bit too much emphasis on tank. In situations when your team is trying to retake, when you could just go assault the back line, cut off the lifeblood to the tank line. Mechanics in terms of your aim as well. I think timing has been an issue a couple of fights. Just a couple of fights, but maybe checking the positioning of your team. So nothing super earth-shattering. Catalog that one away. I'm gonna write it when we finish the review. Ramattra was mostly just cooldown usage. So let's see how we do here. Again, I'm not going to repeat myself too much. Good job clearing top here. Love to see it. Get nice and close to that Ana, or she just dies. That also works. Too early on the shield, right? Talked about that. Sloppy E. Good use of your Nemesis, though. Shame you didn't have your shield, because this is where you can, like, okay, so this is why it's so important, right? If you see an opportunity to push here, imagine if you had your Vortex right here and your shield. You could throw your shield like ahead of the Ana to deal with Sleep Dart and the Vortex, and you're good to go. And you're absolutely good to go. So this is a good play, and it's a really nice use of your Nemesis form. It's a shame you didn't have your cooldowns to enable a little bit more, though. Fine to shoot Ryan here, because you got nothing else to shoot. Totally fine. Vortex, good idea. Bad placement. Shield, maybe a little early, but not too bad. I think it's going to get some significant value. I mean, yeah, look at that damage it's taken. Like, it's broken. Yeah, it broke. That was good. A little bit of an idea here. Check this out. Something maybe you haven't thought about. You got two options here. You can Nemesis form Brawl with the Rhine, where you can punch through his shield, you can tank the damage that they're throwing at you, and so on. Or you can rotate to here with Omnic form and just go and just laser right at his head. Because he can't swing on you, right? He can't swing on you. And just shoot him and shoot him and shoot him and shoot him and shoot. Force shield, shoot. He's going to have to back up, or he's going to have to push. If he pushes, you could Vortex him, you could punch him, whatever. Or you can control his backline with your Nemesis form. Something to consider. Because remember, when you're not shielding, there's no real reason to be with your team. Your team doesn't get any. They just need you to do damage. They just need you to put out pressure. Nice shot. You needed your survivability on that trade. Nice shield. Really nice shield. Careful. What could you be doing with your Nemesis form? What could you be doing with your Vortex? And what could you have done with your shield at this point in time? At this point in time, you should know the answer. If you don't know the answer, then come up with something creative. I think it's probably fine to punch tank there, considering you're naded, and so maybe a little bit scared to go for backline. Nice Vortex. Even just use this as a zoning tool. That's good. Good shield, because you're scared of Sleep Dart, right? Otherwise, I would say bad shield. Probably not necessary, but wait. Actually, maybe it is. Love it. Yeah, I think the missed opportunity was before Ryan touched and when Hanzo and them, they were on high ground. That was your missed opportunity to actually clutch that fight. So you need to go back at that fight and find where was that opportunity to clutch. When Hanzo took up top there, yeah, that was when your opportunity to clutch was. Did you need the survivability? Could you have used the speed to go elsewhere? Now, this is how you could self-VOD review. Like, once I've planted that idea in your brain, now you kind of know how to self-aud review a little bit. You know, you may not always know the answer, but you have a lot of questions, you know, that you could potentially answer, or some ideas that you can try, right? Nice damage there. I mean, look how much damage that you do with this weapon. You know what I'm saying? It just very rarely do you need this to pummel a tank. What do you think about that shield? What do you think about that E? Could it have been better? If so, how? To both. I think both are pretty good, but not perfect. And I want you to tell me, or tell yourself, or think to yourself, what was not perfect about them? How could they have been done perfectly? You're a little bit deep here. Yeah, this is a little bit of your, it's kind of you're a little too far. Where's your team? Where can your team hold? Yeah, I think this fight's lost. I just think you baited your team too far forward. You need the survivability, I get it. Sure. Sure. I'm going through a little fast here because I would love if we could get a decent chunk of this footage before I have to move into my next session. Obviously, we'll have the Q&A later. Always be thinking about what you enable. What could you be trading at the same time? Always. So this is a difficult point where I think you can kind of leverage cart, push cart, push cart, push cart, push cart, or clear high ground, clear high ground, clear high ground. I think trying to find a way to commit to one of them is useful. I think you're realizing that not clearing high ground is really, really expensive. It feels terrible. However, you have pushed cart a long way, so maybe now you can clear high ground. And I think that's kind of looking like that's what you're thinking about doing. Shield. Cancel it now, honestly. And now you see why clearing high ground can be difficult. What are you going to do? What did she just do? What did she just sleep? Ah, I see. Okay, well, sure. Now that's a vortex. I might chase that Ana. Tell you what, I think I would have chased that Ana. Play your life, play your life. Yeah, I think just a little bit overextended. You were trading backlines, but Doomfist did a better job mechanically and cooldown uses trading backlines. Now that being said, not too shabby with the vortex. Not too shabby with the vortex. 1 second. You're seeing why a lot of Overwatch League teams sometimes default to pushing card and just biting the bullet. Because it is hard to clear this high ground sometimes. Did you need the survivability? I don't think at the HP that you were at. What do you think about that vortex? What do you think about this shield? Shield maybe felt necessary? What do you think about this target focus? See? You see? What do you think about that vortex? What do you think about your target priority here? It was like a mess, right? Big vortex, big vortex, big vortex. Oh, there's no way you live at 29 HP. That's actually huge. You guys might actually win this now. Because yeah, okay. Let's watch a few more fights here. Ha! What are you doing? What are you doing? What is this? You were pushed out so far ahead. A little bit of poke damage is fine, but oh, you're just gonna die, aren't you? Yeah, that was way too cheeky. Way too cheeky. You're feeling yourself and you're just going in doing damage. But remember, this is just like some poke damage for some ult charge, but you have to disengage. You are totally by yourself here. Even with like one person or two people helping you, somebody has to push card. This is just stupid. So this is kind of similar to the mistake that you're making on ball, where you're just not positioning very wisely around where your team is. And that's going to cost your team resources and attention. It's going to your team actually loses the fight because the cooldowns they had to use to save you. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, let's watch one more fight here. Let's go. Make it happen. Yeah. Come on. Ooh, that life grip. Suffering. Who should you be focusing right now, if you can? Yes. Get him. Get him. You have enough HP to punch here. He's low. Haha. Unfortunate. Okay. So, here are our takeaways. You know, actually, screw off. I'm not going to give you the takeaways. I want you to give me the takeaways. I think that would be better. I think that would be better, especially considering I'm not in the voice call with you. I want you to type up in our channel or I'll honor system. Write it down somewhere. What are your main priorities for ball? What are your main priorities for Ramattra? What are the individual skills that you need to practice? And I highly recommend picking one and practicing them one at a time. Okay, that is all.